Good evening and welcome to Current Issues. I'm your host, Hesham Tillawi. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, of course, what else we will be talking about? The Boston Marathon. Before we start, our condolences go out to the victims, their families, their friends, their loved ones. It's very sad incident that took place a couple of days ago. Well, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we used to me talking about 9/11 and what took place on 9/11 and what the government involvement in it, etc., etc. And you have seen my stand on Sandy Hook. Of course, I was one of the few 9/11 so-called truthers who stood out actually and said, no, Sandy Hook is nothing like 9/11 and the government has nothing to do with what took place in Sandy Hook. Well, the Boston Marathon, of course, it's a little bit different than what took place in Sandy and at the school in Sandy Hook. 2 bombs exploded, apparently organized by somebody. Now, if you listen to the normal and those so-called who actually brought you 9/11, the other story, you will see that many of them this time around are also blaming the government and calling it a false flag, black op, whatever term they want to use. You know, they follow the lead of a disinformation agent called Alex Jones, who very much, even with the 9/11 truth movement stuff that he had done, he was way out there with nonsense, and this is also nonsense what he came out with. You know, every time you have an event of this magnitude, that is a stage set for something like this to happen. So he's going around saying that he said it as if he knew what was going to happen. But, you know, people say that about every event, and many of them, nothing happens. You know, they don't come out and say, oh, we called it wrong. No, that's a stage set for something like this to happen. Does it happen often? No, it does not. So some people thought, oh, okay, well, if he called it and as if he knew something was going to happen, but he said this about every other event and nothing happened. You know, people know my stand on 9/11, and people know that I do believe that there's another story to 9/11, there's another side to 9/11 than what the government had told us and then what the media had told us. Because from the get-go, and if you remember, if you're old enough to remember 9/11, the media coverage was totally different from this one. And on an interview with a Tunisian station, actually the same day it happened, they asked me, is this the same thing like 9/11? I said, well, it's too early to tell, but let's watch the propaganda by the media and by the government. Because with 9/11, they shied away from investigation or investigating what took place, and they concentrated on mobilizing people against Iraq. That's exactly what happened. It was the evildoers, and Saddam Hussein did this, did that, did this, killed his own people, chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, etc., etc., as if that was the main theme. Nothing was talked about investigating 9/11. It was actually, it took 2 years before the government actually decided to investigate. Well, this one is totally different. The media and the government, from the first minute, or the first moment actually, started the investigation, and it was concentrating on the investigation, on what took place, who was there. That they did not do that with 9/11. So having said that, people had sent me a lot of videos and a lot of stories about, look, it's false flag. Look, it's false flag. You know, people see something or they hear somebody say something, and all of a sudden they pick up on that and they become, they regurgitate what they hear. You got to be careful with those things. You know, you have, especially if you are in the media, if you are a commentator, if you are an educator, if you are whatever, if people do listen to you, you need to be careful, you know, for your own credibility's sake. You know, don't jump on things just because someone like Alex Jones said, oh, it's false flag. The government had something to do with it. Then many people, oh, the government has something to do with it. The government did this, the government did that. I don't believe that the government had anything to do with it. Now, do I have enough information to say that? No, I don't. But do I believe that, like these people who say it's false flag? No. There's nothing about that would even, for this to be considered as false flag. False flag, for those of you who don't know what a false flag is, that is an operation that the government would do to either distract you or to mobilize you into something else. Now, if we had seen, now let's say the government wanted to do this because they want to go and bomb Syria, then somehow, from the beginning, the media and the government, the talking heads on TV, will start talking about Muslims, talking about Arabs, talking about Syria, and before you know it, you'll be mobilized to go and bomb Syria. Did we see this with this one? No, we did not. Well, at least not yet, and it doesn't look like it's going to go that way. Because apparently the FBI does have 2 suspects, and they might even have some people in custody that we don't know about because they're not saying anything. Now, I guarantee you, if those were Muslims or Arabs or they had beards or whatever, they would have, I mean, you know, with 9/11, the same day they were talking about bin Laden and the Muslims. They started the propaganda the same day. Before even the CIA briefed the president of what took place, they were out there on TV, the talking heads, the regular talking heads, you know, on Fox, CNN, and the other networks, as if 9/11 did not happen, but Iraq had to be wiped off the map. I don't see that here. I see them actually concentrating on the investigation itself. Now, I'm going to show you, just to show you the craziness out there, and it's kind of funny. You know, it's very sad. What took place is sad, but it's funny, the reaction of some people out there who think it's false flag. And they're all over. You know, the thing about media these days, anyone can get on YouTube and say whatever, and I was shocked. You know, people are hungry for information about the bombing. And, you know, you will have people on YouTube. Most of the clips, actually, most of the YouTube videos that I've seen had nothing to do with Boston and the marathon, but yet the title was the Boston bombings or Boston Marathon. Just because people are looking for that. Anyway, we're going to show, we have like 3, we're going to have fun with these videos just to show you the craziness that's out there. And then we'll tell you what we really think, which is really not much, because we don't really have a lot of information to go by. Let's show the same video to show you just how crazy the world is out there.
Very powerful blast. There was serious injuries.
Does the investigation include the entire marathon route?
No.
Searching the entire route?
So we've locked out, well, I mean, the investigation will lead us in various places, but right now, that area that the governor outlined is our main point of focus right now.
Okay, freeze it there. Okay, now I want you to read what's on that screen. It says, okay, why were people told to be calm before the bomb went off? Okay? That is, now come back to me. That is supposedly, and we're going to play this video. I'm going to set the stage for you for this video. and so you'll understand it. Supposedly, you are going to hear a question. Now, this is a press conference, and you're going to hear a question saying, why were people told to calm down or be quiet minutes before the explosion? Now, I want you to listen very carefully. It was dubbed nicely, and it was edited professionally, that you really, unless you're trained to hear these voices, and you're trained to know that the question was not on the original track. So whoever is asking this question, the question was added to the conversation later, and it made it look like that this guy was asking that question and everybody was ignoring him. Well, you're going to see that they were not answering that question because simply, in my opinion, and I want you to listen to it, that question, you feel the acoustic with when that question is actually spoken, it's a little bit different. They did a good job on it that most people probably will think that the questioner is right there at the press conference. Let's play this from the beginning.
Very powerful blast. There was serious injuries.
Was the investigation begin the entire marathon route?
No.
Searching the entire route?
So we've locked out, well, I mean, the investigation will lead us in various places, but right now, that area that the governor outlined is our main point of focus right now.
Okay, why would you tell your speaker telling people to be calm before the bomb went off? I want that answer that question.
Currently in your search for additional devices, are you searching the entire route of the marathon, or are you just focused on certain areas right now? Or just areas you're focused on beyond the Copley area?
At this point in time, our focus of the investigation is in the area that the governor mentioned.
Why was they why did the bomb going off?
Are there any unaccounted for people? If so, how would you?
We're actually working very closely with the families right now. We're setting up a location near here that families can come to if they have any questions. The mayor's office has fielded many calls of concern. We're going through those right now.
Why was people being told quiet?
9:30 tomorrow morning will be the next briefing. Thank you. Go right there.
That's a false flag, gentlemen. No more TSA on the street.
Okay? Why was he ignored? Because he wasn't there. And whoever did that just to tell you, that's a false flag, people, that's a false flag. No, that's crazy. That's not a false flag. Let's go to the second one.
Whoa! Something just blew up at the... Run! Go! So as you heard there, two distinct explosions. Obviously, the JFK Library one was a little bit farther away.
Breaking news on RT. Blasts in Boston. Twin explosions target the finish line of the city's marathon.
Well, this is how the beginning of every scene happens. And what we can hope is that somebody, well...
What's up, guys? Looks like a lot of stuff's going down today. This Boston Marathon was actually a Sandy Hook tribute, and it says right here, the last mile of the Boston Marathon was dedicated to families of the Newtown shooting victims, and the honored families were seated in VIP sections near where the explosion went off. The families of Newtown shooting victims who already experienced unspeakable tragedy have to suffer again during the Boston Marathon. And I'm telling you guys, the outcome of this is not going to be good. It's either going to be war with another country, or it's going to be war declared on some kind of group here in America. I'm telling you right now, we've seen it with 9/11. You're going to see it again. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff is going down today. And
Now, that was the first day when actually this took place, on the 15th. And some of these videos have 30 and 40,000 hits on YouTube. So they were popular videos, and it's nothing but nonsense. It's nothing but nonsense. Just because the last mile was attributed to the victims of Sandy Hook and their families, I guess they brought their families there with them to sit with the VIPs on the stand, then it has to be the government conspired to blow them up. And many things going to happen. Let's go to the next one. Okay, I want you to, that last statement there that says, officials, there will be a controlled explosion opposite the library within 1 minute as part of the bomb squad activities. Now, Alex Jones and the likes, they took that and they ran with it. A bomb drill, a controlled explosion drill on the same day of the marathon, and as if this was out of this world, as if they're not supposed to have a controlled explosion. Look, every time you have one of these events, you are going to have bomb squads all over the place. So in case if they do find a bomb, they are going to throw it into this chamber and actually explode it. Control explosion. So if these people, if this bomb squad, they had the whatever big box, heavy box that they throw these bombs in and explode them, that's how they do it. That's what a controlled explosion is. You know, they'll have this huge steel box, and I'm sure they had few of them set up through the route, the marathon route, and they decided to probably explode the device, maybe to try it, maybe for whatever reason. But for them to have a drill, and when the government, when the Boston Globe tweeted that there will be, that some officials said there will be a controlled explosion opposite the library within 1 minute as part of a bomb squad activities. Just that one line, you had everybody lost their minds and said, see, they had a drill going on with exploding bombs. So apparently the bombs that were set up, they were set up by the police too and by the bomb squad. Now, get on with it, okay? Let's go ahead and go to the next one.
Give them an idea of what this person looked like, what the package may have looked like, and also if it in fact originated from a trash can. There are telltale signs at a blast scene that tell you
86 injured.
And again,
for you guys that know about conspiracy stuff, you know what 86 means.
That would give them an
86 means destruction.
To gather it and put it back together.
So this isn't over, folks.
Now
it's far from over.
In Los Angeles, in New York,
false flag attack by the Illuminati on the day, if you calculate it out, equals to 16. You can put that to 7, where the first bomb was at 2:50 p.m., which is also 7. Or you can take the 1 and 6 or 1 and 9, however they want to put it together.
Law enforcement,
you know,
telling me
not only this, you have a NYC police officer kills himself, but before that he kills his wife and his son. Double murder suicide. And now we got this bombing, and all of a sudden now the government says that it was a terrorist attack. How the hell do they know what it was? How do they know if it was an isolated incident?
We're continuing to monitor.
Obviously, that means they know something we don't.
As it unfolds, and I've directed the full resources of the federal government to help state and local authorities.
You know how stupid people are? There are no limits. Number one, he tells you, now this was the same day. This was the same day. 86, now it was a lot more than 86 injured, but at that time the news was 86. And according to some code, I have no idea whose code it is. He's talking to us as we should know that code 86 means destruction. I mean, I don't know. Is that for like a game or something? I don't know. But we're supposed to know that 86 injured, well, that's the code. And then it was 16, that's 1 plus 6 is 7, and then the bomb exploded on at 2:50, so that's 5 and 2 is 7, and he got it. He solved the whole darn thing just by adding a number to equal 7. And then all of a sudden it's the Illuminati who did it. The government, the Illuminati. He had about 40,000 hits on YouTube. Now, how many people who actually saw that, they probably believed his codes. Now, I don't know what his codes, maybe I'm dumb, maybe I'm ignorant, but I don't know these codes. But he put these codes, 16, 1 and 6, and then 2 and 5, 7, that's it, Illuminati did it. Conspiracy, false flag. That's what's going on out there. That's exactly what's going on out there on the internet, and that's where most people getting this garbage from, and they go out there and they start talking about false flag, and they start talking about government conspiracy, and they start talking about all this. Now, have I seen anything to say that it's government conspiracy? No, I have not. And if I have, I'll be the first one to actually say it. But I have not. What this will do, and a lot of these people who are putting this garbage out there, a lot of them are part of what was called or so-called the truth movement. If this was what the truth movement is, well, you know how truthful it was. And many of these people actually jumped on the bandwagon with the Sandy Hook and the false flag and the conspiracy and the government did it and all that stuff. These same people who actually brought you 9/11. I'm one of them who brought you 9/11. But what they're doing, they're going to destroy 9/11. You want a code for destruction? Forget about 86. It's 96. It's nuts. They're going to destroy what we have built on 9/11. And 9/11, there are some questions that have not been answered up to now. One of them, why there was no investigation of 9/11. Very simple. Forget about the thousands of questions. Forget about the dancing Israelis. Forget about that they were there to film the event. Forget about that 2 buildings never fall the way these 2 buildings did when a plane hit them. Forget about physics. Forget about all that stuff. Forget about the shares of United and Americans. Forget about Building 7. Forget about Pennsylvania? Forget about what hit the Pentagon. Forget about all these questions. Just one question. Why there was no investigation? Why the media and the government did not talk about investigating? Until now, there is no investigation for 9/11. Now, we brought out some legitimate issues about 9/11. And 9/11, it was obvious that it was made to basically go and get the Middle East in the shape that it is now. And for the last 11 years, that's exactly what we have been showing you and proving to you with things on the ground. Now, when we first started talking about 9/11 and what's going on in the Middle East between Israel and these countries and all that stuff, you probably did not sink in. But now it's facts. What we were talking about 10 years ago, it became facts on the ground. Now, what was this, the Boston Marathon? Well, according to these so-called truthers, they want to just throw 9/11 and 11 years of investigations under the bus so they can get a moment of in the limelight and say, oh, I said the stage was set up for something to happen. Well, every time you go out there, the stage is set up for something to happen. So if you say, well, if I go out today, I might get into an accident. Well, every day you go out there, but does it mean that you're going to get into an accident every day? No. But if that's what you say every day, then one day is going to happen. Stop the nonsense. We don't have enough information yet to know who did it. Now, we do have a couple of faces that the FBI, they're looking for. Now, we understand they have people in custody. We don't know who they have in custody. We don't know if these people are, the FBI, it seems like they're very solid that these two that you see right here in the picture, that these are the bombers. Thank God they don't look like Muslims or Arabs. Even though from day one on Twitter, the favorite word was Muslim, Islam, Islamic, Arabs, terrorist. That was the #1 word that was tweeted. Now, thank God these people, they don't look like, at least they don't look like the typical terrorist. You know how, on one of the videos he was saying when Obama had actually called it a terrorist act. And one of the commentators on the videos that we showed you is like, how do they know that it was terrorist? Well, the act is an act of terrorism. What do you think? It has to be a Muslim with a big beard and a turban on his head, carry a bomb and bring it over there, then it becomes terrorism? That is terrorism. It doesn't matter who did it. So, one of them, that's how silly these arguments are. It's like, oh, the government know. How did they know from the get-go that it was terrorist act? What? The act itself. It doesn't matter who did it. It does not matter if it's the CIA, the FBI, if it was Al-Qaeda, it doesn't matter who it was. It's still a terrorist act. And even if these two acted on their own, still a terrorist act. Now, Obama actually, finally, over the years we have tried to define the word terrorism. And he defined it. Finally, we have an official definition of what terrorism is. He said, terrorism, anytime you bomb innocent civilians, that's act of terrorism. I said, wow, great. Well, let's see. In Iraq, we bombed innocent civilians. We killed hundreds of thousands of them. In Libya, we bombed innocent civilians. In Palestine, in Gaza, Israel bombed innocent civilians. In Syria, innocent civilians being bombed. And once we go there and we start bombing, more innocent civilians will be bombed and will be killed. So I guess terrorism, it's all over the place. It's all over the place. You know, one of the things that people know, sometimes they don't even think about those things. Now, I do think about those things because it's obvious the way the media carries those things. Even the media, now I'm not talking about just the American media, I'm talking about media all over the world. The Boston Marathon, 3 died. Don't get me wrong, it was a horrible, horrible incident. It was a heinous crime. It was, I can't describe it. But the whole world has been doing nothing but covering and stories, sensational stories about the people who died, about the people who were injured, something about their lives, something special going on in their lives, and this kind of took all that away from them. And I'm thinking, you know, the people that we bombed in Iraq and Libya and all over the place, they're nothing but a number on the nightly headline news. Nothing but a number. 129 killed in Afghanistan. 35 killed at a wedding because a drone, United States drone, bombed a wedding and killed 39 or 40. Not 3. But you don't see any reports naming them by names. You don't see any reports saying, oh, this was his wedding. He has been waiting for this for so long, and he worked overseas to get some money to come back to Afghanistan and marry his sweetheart, and then all of a sudden, both of them are dead. Have you heard any of those stories? No, you have not. Has these stories been repeated over and over in many countries that we as the United States have bombed? Yeah. That's just for you to think about. Just think about that. Now, what took place in Boston? Does it really matter who did it and why? It does not. It does not matter to those who died. It does not matter to their families. It does not matter. What matters is their loved ones are no longer with them. That's what matters. What matters to those people who were injured, that their legs and arms and limbs have been amputated. There was a girl, all her limbs were amputated. Now, she was a runner. She got up that morning, she was healthy, got out there. We heard about her story. Now, at the end, by midday or by 2 o'clock, she had no limbs. But we've heard about her story, and it was a very sad story. As I'm sure you are hearing about the rest of the injured. But maybe you want to ask yourself, I really like to know those hundreds of thousands that we bombed, what were they? Were they newlyweds? Were they college students about to graduate? Were they doctors? Were they the sons of people, the husbands of people, the wives? Were they the children? We don't even think about that, do we? We just know 129 died. Okay, big deal. Every day they die. So now, with this thing, getting back to the point or the theme of tonight's program, that I don't believe it's false flag. I don't believe it's a government conspiracy. I don't believe, now, is it a conspiracy? Of course it is. Of course it is. Anytime you have something like this, somebody conspired to do it. Now, who are they? We don't know. But it looks like this time around that the government and the media are concentrating on actually solving this. And that's where I'm standing. Because they're actually trying to solve it. When they ask everybody to turn in whatever they have, it's something that they did not. We had a lot of cameras, we had a lot of things. They did not investigate 9/11. As a matter of fact, they did not interview, the so-called 9/11 commission. 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans got on a round table and said, don't blame me, I will not blame you. And that's basically what the 9/11 commission report was. Many, many, many important witnesses, they did not talk to them. They did not interview them. But with this one, I'm not seeing the government or the media mobilizing us against another country. Now again, it's too early in the game. Will someone actually choose this tragedy to mobilize against a particular people, particular group, particular country? It could be. Now those two, could they have acted by themselves? Could be. Could they have like a couple of more people with them? Could be. Could they have belonged to an organization that has 50 people? It could be. We don't know. Could they be working for the government? We don't know. But according to what we're seeing, obviously not. Otherwise, the investigation will not be concentrated on those two people. Now, we're going to show you some of their pictures a little bit later, but let's go ahead and show the last video, actually, which you will see them. Now, you've probably seen this video on other networks, but you will see them actually, both of them carrying those bags. And but, for some reason, the FBI had concentrated on those two, because there were other people who could have been, and I've seen many pictures of different people with bags like the ones that were exploded. Many people had black bags like that could have been used, but the government apparently have their reasons. The FBI, it's like almost they're solid. These are the two that had committed this. And since these are the two, and the FBI feel almost 100%, and like I said, they got somebody in custody, maybe they got one of them. They don't want to say who they have. Maybe they're still looking for the other one, I don't know. Anyway, let's show it. That's them right there. The two walking behind each other. Right there. 1, 2. Now, supposedly that was around the area where these bombs have actually exploded. I guess, the FBI has their own reasons. So far, it's probably circumstantial evidence, but I'm sure they have seen probably other cameras, and they probably profiled them. They probably know they look like somebody. I don't know. We don't know. We don't know. But we know one thing, that they want to solve this, and they want to solve this in public, not behind the scenes. Now, if it had been a false flag. Number one, you're not going to see this kind of, you will have some talking heads distracting you from the main focus. That's what you will have. You will not have the FBI asking people and actually intercepting people at the airports and bus stations and wherever they can intercept them and say, let us look at your cameras. Let's see, maybe you captured some scene that we'll be interested in. That's what they're concentrating on. And those efforts with the media and the government concentrating on finding these people, that's enough for me to say that it's not a false flag operation. Because again, if it had been, then we will see a totally different coverage. Because remember, the powers that be that controls what goes on in the world, that controls government and controls the media, just like they did with 9/11. Because in 9/11, they controlled government and the media. Because the media was mainly focusing on Saddam and his sons and how horrible they were. Yellow cake from Niger. That's what they were concentrating on. They were not, the government was not concentrating on 9/11, on the Twin Towers. The media was not concentrating on what took place there. The media was concentrating on mobilizing you. So in 2003, when George Bush decided to go and hit Iraq, you were on board. Now, hitting Afghanistan in the beginning, of course, you know, they said it was bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, and they were in Afghanistan, so they went to Tora Bora and bombed the heck out of it. But then it shifted after Tora Bora, which was actually, it happened like in November and December of the same year, 2001. But Iraq, it took them 2 years to convince you that Iraq had something to do with it. Now, you do remember George Bush and the media when they were talking about Iraq and meetings in Sweden or Copenhagen or someplace between Iraqis, and it was all lies. So the President of the United States got on TV and told us lies, knowing that they were lies. That's how governments are controlled. That's how conspiracies work. When you have the media knowing, you know, if we in this little studio right here told you they were lying, and if you have been following the program, you know we told you that. We told you they're lying. Saddam Hussein does not have weapons of mass destruction because we know. Iraq lost 500,000 children before 9/11 because it was under an economic boycott, under siege. The oil for food formula that the United Nations was allowing Iraq to only sell what they will eat and buy medicine, and it was not enough. 500,000 children died in Iraq before the war. That was during Clinton. They died due to malnutrition and lack of medicine. Now that did not come up because Saddam Hussein was stockpiling his nuclear arsenal and his chemical weapons, as the president actually had told us. But they mobilized you against Iraq, and you were on board. 84% of people, of Americans, were on board to go and bomb Iraq, based on a lie. But we're not discussing Iraq and the lie. We're discussing how you should look at things. On 9/11, see, you will see, and you will see that actually it is completely different coverage. In 9/11, they did not concentrate on the investigation. They concentrated on mobilizing you against Muslims, against Arabs, against Iraq, to go and destroy Iraq. for Israel. That's what they concentrated on. They did not concentrate on what all those Israelis were doing in the parameters. What were those Israelis with explosives in their van that they were stopped underneath the bridge? You know, I still see Dan Rather reporting that day when he said a van was stopped under the Hudson River Bridge with explosives. That story was gone because there were Israelis in the van. The media did not investigate that because the media was told, forget it, mobilize people to go hit Saddam. When Iraq had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with 9/11 and nothing, but hey look, they mobilized you. I don't see it this time. So that's why I'm saying, no, this time I'm not seeing the government actually trying to convince us that somebody did it and we need to go kill them. And I don't see the media jumping on board either. For that and for the craziness that I showed you earlier with all these videos that we did, that simple stupidity. Just because, you know, one of the guys that was talking, actually, did we show that or we still have one, right? Yeah, let's show that. We still have a couple of minutes left. Because this is the, well, I don't want to call it stupid, but silly. Let's see it. Yeah, this one.
Hi everybody. Well, you probably know by now about the attack in Boston. Time to, you know, get calm as you can and analyze the situation, decide what you're going to do. Remember, you know, a lot of us have been saying that they're going to start staging these things and blaming it on conservatives. Today was Patriot Day. There in Boston, I guess there's another one on the 19th. Looking at the explosions, I saw both of them. They're saying they were homemade bombs, but they exploded within a few seconds of each other, and there was a third one that didn't go off for some reason. And the scripting almost immediately from what Wolf Blitzer was, is there anything going on with a Patriot meeting in the area? So, and that was parroted by several others. So my guess is that this is a false flag, and they're going to probably pin it on conservatives, probably Tea Partiers. I don't think I'm jumping to conclusions on that. I guess we'll wait and see, but that would be my gut feeling at this point, considering the circumstances. Word of warning, I think we're going to see a lot of these over the next little while, next few days, you know, and then there are those missing missiles from the Libyan Syria transfer as well. So, you know, watch your six, okay? I was going to bring up one other
Did you get all that? Now, that was crazy. Let me tell you why. Number one, he says that the government going to start doing those things and blame it on the conservatives. And then he said that in the next few days, well, now we are the next few days. That happened the 15th, today's the 18th. He said the next few days we're going to see a lot of those taking place. No, we have not. And then he goes, well, his guess that this is a false flag. And then he goes that you don't need to jump to conclusions, that he's not jumping to conclusions. Now he tells you that he feels in his guts that it is a false flag, that it's a government conspiracy, but then he tells you don't jump to conclusions. What? Well, what is it? Now that was on the 15th. And this guy had like 30,000 hits on his, so apparently some people believe in what he says. So he said, oh, my gut feeling that it is a false flag. And then he tells you, don't jump to conclusions. Wait and see. Wait and see in the next few days. We're going to have a lot of those taking place. Nonsense. Nonsense. And then you get people who listen to that and they go into their families, to their offices, and they start talking about, oh, the government has something to do with it. You know, this government has something to do with it. Now, and by the way, it's like people are jumping, changing sides, because now those who were with Bush, now they're saying this government has to do with it, and the other ones, those who were with the Republicans or with the Democrats against Bush, they were saying that the government had something to do with it. So be careful what you actually listen to. And look, you have a brain of your own. So you decide from the information that you see. If it doesn't, look, if it sounds crazy, then probably it is. You know, when someone gives you a code and says 86 injured, that's the code for destruction, well, yeah, you might want to say that's crazy. Or if somebody says, well, they held a drill, a bomb drill, and so it had to be a conspiracy because the bomb squad had held a controlled explosion drill that day, then definitely it's a conspiracy. Okay. Anyway, again, I'm sure that Boston will overcome this, but I do want you to remember one thing. We're here because of what we have done. There is something either domestic or foreign does not like what we're doing, either domestically or internationally. This did not come out of a void. And these terrorists, as bad as they are, they don't wake up in the morning overnight. They don't wake up overnight and say, oh, I'm a terrorist today. No. These people, they come from something. So we do need to look inside and find that something. Because we cannot be just the good people on earth and the rest of the people are bad and the rest of the people are terrorists. And we cannot be, you know, brainwashed that a terrorist have a certain look or a certain dialect or a certain religion or look like one or dresses like one. That's the lesson that we should learn from this one, that terrorists do come in different shapes and forms. Some of them wear uniforms and fly F-22s, and some of them put explosives in a pressure cooker and do the job. So terrorists are not just one creed or breed. Terrorist, anyone that hurts civilians, period. That's the definition of a terrorist in my book is. Well, anyway, that's very much what we actually had for you tonight. I hope you were able to take some of this information that we gave you and, you know, just make you think. I'm sure you heard, and if you watch this station, you are going to hear many opinions on it. Just pick the one that you think more or most sensible and study it, and then form your opinion. But don't form your opinion just because someone says it's a government conspiracy. And if I feel it was, I'll be the first one to actually say that. But again, like I have done and said during Sandy Hook, this one I'm not ready to call it a conspiracy or blame the government for it, and because I just don't see it, and I see the reaction of the government of the media and the media totally different. Anyway, You do know that we do come to you every other Thursday, so we're not going to see you next Thursday, but we will see you the Thursday after, and hopefully we will have a different topic to talk about, and hopefully it does not include injuries or blood or killing or any of the above. But unfortunately, that's all we have. Good night.